Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of In the Prog Seat. It's Tuesday night. Thanks for joining us. We are returning once again to the letters of the alphabet. We are arrived at letter K. We got two Hall of Fame picks tonight that we'll announce in a minute, but let me introduce the gang first. Starting from the bottom, going up the tree, we've got Chuck Alvarez, the Professor of Prog, Ken Golden. He's our center square yet again. Stephen Reed, all the way from Scotland. He's in that center square all the time. Lewis Nasser, Eric Porter, and the other half of our dream team from Chicago, George, Lemmy, and Kitty.
Asher,
what's going on? Asher's like, I'm just hanging out. I'm just hanging out, trying to figure out what all this prog talk is all about. You know?
Asher listens to all this stuff all day long.
He does. Right. Do that, or Asher's just sitting there waiting and say, you guys stop talking about this crap and go listen to Merciful Fate or something like that. So we've arrived at a letter K. We've got two Hall of Fame picks today. We do this occasionally when there are like really, really obvious bands that are on a letter that we know everybody's going to pick. So we'll say right off the bat how great King Crimson and Kansas are. They of course will, if they if they wouldn't have been on everybody's list, they would have been on most of our lists, and they would absolutely have been on mine. So we're going to automatically Hall of Fame them. They're amazing, best of the lot, but there's other really good ones too, and that's kind of why we go through these exercises. So we've each picked out our top three. We've got some honorable mentions. Chuck is going to kick us off today with his number three.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
My number three is a UK band, which hopefully won't ruffle any feathers, but I do love this album, Keynote Picture, 2017. You know, very well done album, very pop proggish, or whatever he wants to call it, and so don't want to ruffle any feathers, but that's my number three. My number three, Keynote Picture.
I think you're going to see a lot of Kino in the comments because a lot of people seem to really, really dig them. So not a bad thing.
I believe Twiddly Pop was the phrase.
That's right. Yes. Twiddly Pop.
My Twiddly Pop fan.
If we ever do outtakes, I will tell you guys my Kino story. Oh. But it's not suitable for the air.
Gotcha. Okay. You have been forewarned. Okay.
He's saving it for his book.
There you go. All right, Ken, your first pick of the day. What do you
got? Mine seemed kind of obvious to me, and I have a feeling other people are going to pick this one. Con, Space Shanty.
Yep.
So this is, people know, Steve Hillage and Dave Stewart with Nick Greenwood and Eric Peachy. And Nick Greenwood made a great solo album called Cold Cuts, also with Eric Peachy. People categorize it as Canterbury. To me, I don't hear it as much of a Canterbury album as like some of the other things that we always talk about when we discuss Canterbury. I mean, sure, it's Hillage and it's Dave Stewart, but like Dave Stewart's playing to me is a little more straight ahead as far as especially his tone he gets out of the organ. To me, it's just a fantastic prog rock album. Great tunes, great playing. I mean, can't go wrong. It's an all-time classic, I think. So for me,
one done.
Yeah. One, and actually, I did want to point. This is the only one and done. I had a real tough time with K because I had a ton of them, and I was whittling down my list till this afternoon. And I self-imposed rule was no one and done bands.
I do that a lot as well. Yeah.
And because there was a lot of really, really good stuff. I made the one exception because this is just so good.
It's an amazing album.
Yeah, Con Space Shanty. That's my number three.
Yeah, I always feel bad picking a one and done over like a band that has 10 albums, right? Yeah.
The only reason I did that was because I had so many. At one point, I had like 19 of them. I had like 19 of my honorable mentions. It was ridiculous. So,
All right, Stephen, what do you got?
Okay, my first choice is the Kali Trio. So this is a Swiss trio comprising Raphael Lohr on piano, Urs Müller on guitar, and Nicholas Stoker on drums. They've only got two albums, 2019's Riot, and this is Loom from last year. What they do, I would say it kind of falls into prog. It kind of falls into kind of avant jazz. It kind of falls into ambient. It's very dark. It's like a brutalistic kind of soundtrack, I would suggest. It's very starkly arranged, really quite challenging in places in a very good way. And there's often just kind of odd sounds and beats, sometimes on drums, sometimes on piano, and nothing here is anything close to a song. But if you go and watch what they do, they perform them and they film them, and there's lots of these on YouTube. They're just incredible. It's tight. The arrangements are amazing, but I do think there's an element of kind of, something that's a bit more freeform in there as well. It's really good. It's not music for every occasion. I would suggest you've got to be in the right frame of mind for it. It's amazing through headphones because it is just really so kind of abstract and out there at certain points, but it's really, really good. And they kind of create their own little world. So my first choice is the Kali Trio.
Already taking notes.
Yeah, you reviewed that on the website, didn't you? I think.
Yes, this was one that I was lucky enough to be sent by yourself.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
really like it. I would never have heard of them otherwise.
Yeah.
And this is-
Translation: Pete didn't like it, so he sent it to.
No, you'd be surprised, Ken. I don't listen to most of the stuff that I send out to these guys. Just way too much. I have no time. I'm like, okay, off it goes. Yeah. Cool. I thought it rang a bell. Lewis.
All right. For my number 3, I am unfortunately going to have to pull a tie because letter K was killing me, and I can't. These I just like them equally. Okay. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to begin the night up by being a dick. But one of them has to be this record. This is also a one and done, but I do want to give it a shout out because it's so far. There may be more. I don't know, but this is the only record I've ever heard by this guy. He forms part of the band that we discussed when we did the letter I that I also like a lot. I Am the Morning. This is the Russian pianist Gleb Kolyadin. This is just what the record is called, Gleb Kolyadin. This album kicks ass majorly.
Yeah.
Interesting cover too. I like that.
And it has, for those of you who are interested, it has a little bit of music. So you want to play some stuff, it works out. I just love it. And it even has some vocals that don't bother me. It has Steve Hogarth in one of the tracks. This is a great record. I love it. I love it. So this is tie for my number 3 with a band that is no more because it was a trip there, Wisconsin, Milwaukee. And the younger one, Paul, died a few years ago. So they broke up. I'm talking about Kopecky. I love Kopecky. They have 4 or 5 studio albums. This is my favorite. It's called Blood. But they're all great. It's heavy guitar, bass, and drums. William Kopecky, to my ears, is the best bass player of my generation. That guy can really do it all and does it well. He now lives in France and he has a complicated life. I think he was just actually.
I just saw him.
Yeah, he was playing with IO Earth and Dave, right? Yeah. I love William. We're good friends, but in addition, he's more importantly, they're great musicians. And this band, if you guys have never heard Kopecky, please get them. The records are still available. And if you like heavy instrumental prog rock, this is what you want.
Shout out to William. William's been a big supporter of Sea Tranquility for years and years, and follows everything we do. William, hope you're well.
Yes.
The only thing that was better than William Kopecky at Prog Stock was the pizza at Nancy's Townhouse.
That's right.
I give it an 8.8. I got to tell you.
Wow, 8.8 is high.
It was banging. It was banging. Unbelievable. I went with Tom Gagliardi. Whew.
Oh,
Fantastic. Bar
8.8.
pie.
That's
Yeah.
even higher than Mr. Portnoy gives most.
Yeah, it was a bar pie. It was great. But Bill Kopecky, he was great.
Yes.
Cool. All right, Eric.
All right, good evening, gentlemen, and got to give a shout out. Go Yankees.
they won.
Moving on. Yep. My number 3 is from Japan. No guitar, but violin. And I'm going with KBB, and I'm going with the live disc, live 2004. high energy, very intense. The only thing that's kind of funny when you listen to this, it sounds like there's 10 people in the audience. You get that polite little clapping going on. But great stuff. The keyboard player also is fantastic. Great band altogether, but I love violin. So you get a lot, obviously. I think the violinist wrote most of the tracks on this, if I'm not mistaken. But great stuff, very intense. I think there's one track that's mellow, but the rest of it is full on, and they're a powerhouse. So that is my number 3, KBB.
Great choice.
Man, yeah, man.
George.
My number 3 will stay in Japan. Kenzo.
Mhm.
11 studio albums. On the borderline between prog and fusion. Lineups are shifting between quartet and quintet, depending on which albums you're at, which era. Started in the early 80s, but they've been dormant since 2014. So I haven't heard anything. Well, let's hope they're not done, because I think the 2000s period has been really, really interesting stuff, but can't go wrong with any of them. Maybe a Soptron is not as good as the rest, but the rest are money in the bank. Kenzo.
Mhm.
The first 2 are just pure symphonic rock.
Yep.
And then they kind of went off into fusion realms, I think.
Excellent fusion.
Yeah.
And excellent symphonic rock. They were just great band.
It blew me away at Nearfest, man. It was so good. So good.
To me, that's a torture. That's the only one I missed.
Oh, really?
The only reason I missed it is because my daughter was about to be born.
Okay. Right.
And I remember in a superstitious way negotiating with Ursula's belly that she should wait. I'm just going to go for the weekend. I'll be right back. But I cannot miss Kenzo. You need to understand this. This is important.
What year were they?
2005.
Okay.
And that's Julia's birth date, July 2005. And that was the year they pushed the festival a little bit later, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That also pissed me off, because had they done it normally, I wouldn't have missed it.
How much later was she born?
She was born. I could have made it. I could have made it back, and the next night she was born.
Mhm.
So my little girl listened to me through all that uterus liquid. But in any case, all I hear are great reports, and to this day, I haven't even bothered to. I haven't had the gumption to watch the concert,
Mhm.
because it's just gonna piss me off that I missed it again, right?
Mhm.
So I haven't seen
good.
it, but yeah.
I never saw
Eric?
so much cables. I never saw so many cables.
Oh, yeah. It was crazy. The gear that was ridiculous. Yeah. That guy had all those keyboards. It was just.
Oh yeah, it was quite a set.
Eric, were you there that year?
I was there that year, yes.
They were good.
Because that was Keneally was there that year too, right?
No,
2005.
no, Keneally was
no.
2006.
I think 6, yeah. Mhm.
That's also the year that they had Universe Zero.
Mhm.
I gotta look that up, Louis. I'm not disputing you, but I think 2005 was Keneally. I'll
Well,
check.
unless he was there twice, but I know I missed 2005.
I'm hazy when it comes to the years. I don't know.
Yeah, they do get blurry.
They blur into one.
It's just so long ago, I'm like.
Yeah.
And my first pick of the day, I also saw it Nearfest. And to me, this band has a lot of really solid albums, really good albums too. But to me, they're a band best experienced live. And it's the German band Kron. I love their 70s live album. This is just amazing. This band, like I said, the studio stuff is really good, but man, live, and there was so much fun live. I mean, people, I don't know if you guys remember, like people like ran down, started dancing in the aisles to Kron. I mean, you never saw that at a Nearfest ever. It's like, it's basically, bass, drums, guitar, and saxophone. It's kind of funky, it's kind of fusiony, it's kind of proggy. It really doesn't sound like anything else. Some of the stuff's instrumental, some of it has vocals. You got Helmut Hattler, which is an amazingly funky bass player. And I like this live album better than any of the studio albums, although I do like the studio albums quite a bit. So I have a picture of them in here. I can show everybody. Yeah, there they are right there. But really cool stuff. It's very German sounding, but like I said, it's got a very accessible feel to it. If you like really, really groove laden, funky prog, with little bits of jazz and blues and rock in the mix. Kron is a really, really good band. So it's my first pick.
All right.
Back to Chuck.
You got Chad's picks there?
What's that?
Oh, Chad's picks.
Chad's picks.
Oh, Chad's pick. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Chad's number 3 is Kron. And he picked the live 2001 album, which I guess was 2001, the year they played at Nearfest.
What a shocker.
Yes.
Keneally was 04.
Well,
All right. Okay. So the year before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was also Universe Zero, correct?
Yes, I believe so. I'll double check.
That Universe Zero set was amazing too.
Oh,
Oof.
Love that band.
Spooky, creepy, great stuff.
Yeah.
All
Creepy.
right, Chuck, now back to you.
All right. Okay, my number 2 is the pop prog metal band King's X. And my pick is Gretchen,
Gretchen.
Nebraska.
Yes.
You know, you can't go wrong with this album. It's a band that I know that a lot of people usually get a little perturbed by, and so because they don't know how to, they know that they're not really pigeonholed as a metal band, and they're not overtly prog and so, but they have elements of both in their music. And this was the first album that I actually got to hear from them, and I also got to see them for this tour, and they blew me away, man. You know, I also saw them on tour a couple of times with Metallica, and they were just amazing, man. And my number 2, once again, is King's X. Gretchen Goes to Nebraska.
So George and I were talking earlier, Chuck, and I was like, we were talking about a couple of bands that we kind of considered for this, and I thought about King's X because I really dig them a lot now. And I know a lot of people were going to pick them in the comments, and I said, I'm sure we'll get at least 1 or 2 people on the panel picking them. But I just have a hard time calling them anything. So like if we were just doing like metal here, I wouldn't pick them.
Nope.
Prog, not really either. I don't know what King's X are, right? They're kind of like this poppy hard rock band, and they don't really fit anywhere. But I'm glad they got a mention because I know a lot of viewers are going to pick them. So that's cool. I was like, I left them off of my list because I don't know. To me, they're like borderline everything. So I have a hard time picking them anywhere. But great band nonetheless. So. All right, Ken.
All right. Well, I'm not going to change my picks this time. Sometimes I do that. So I also will go with Kron, but I have a slightly different take on it. So there's like 2 different phases of Kron. There's the early phase when they were basically like a quartet, and they were doing, Pete, as you said, they were kind of like, there was a little bit of touch of like that underground krautrock thing going on, some jamming, vocals. I was never a big fan of their vocals, a little kind of goofy, kind of throwaway, but really, really solid. And then Ingo Bischoff joined the band, keyboard player. And then they went more into the jazz rock fusion realm. And I think that this is just great. This is Wiederhören. And then they had a live album that came out called Tournee. And those albums absolutely smoke. Always a dopey vocal track on there. You'll go, man, they should have left that off. But overall, great live band. And the Kron live album that you held up, that's a great one for the first phase, for the first phase. And then Tournee is a great live one from this phase. And either way, you can't go wrong with Kron. I don't think they ever really made a bad album. Even the later albums were pretty good. And Helmut Hattler is probably one of the best bass players I've ever seen. That guy's treacherous.
Oh yeah.
He is a monster. So yeah. So my number 2 pick was Kron.
Cool.
And nobody's gonna know my number 1 pick.
Okay, so my number 2, excuse me, is Caribou. So that's a German outfit from way back in 1996. Round multi-instrumentalist Oliver Rusing. He's been in loads of different bands and loads of different projects over the years. But Caribou have still been quite prolific. They've done, I think, 13 studio albums. Admittedly, they took a bit of a while to kind of find their sound. The early stuff isn't really very prog, as to be said, and it kind of misses the mark in certain ways. But from 2011's Man of Rust onwards, I think they've been a really excellent melodic progressive rock outfit. I like a lot of their albums, and choosing a favourite was really difficult. I kind of had to whittle it down, ended up with 4, and just plumped for Holophonium from 2016. But this is a double album. The first disc is all individual songs, and the second disc is just one long piece, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And they're a band that just seem to slip under the radar. They've been consistently good for a long time now. So my number 2 is Caribou.
Have you seen them live, Stephen?
No, I have not had that pleasure.
They came to play Chicago. Mark Monforti brought them, and we got to hang with them, and I got to hear the band play. It was a spectacle, gotta say.
I believe they have a brand new album coming out.
Ah, okay.
I could be wrong, but I think so.
Yeah, you would love him, Stephen.
Oh, I'd love to see them live. Absolutely. Yeah.
13 albums. Woo.
Yeah.
No one and dones here.
Prolific. No. All right, Lewis, back to you.
All right, my number 2 is an artist that I think at some point or other, pretty much everybody who played an instrument at Orion Studio had a crush on her. She's this incredibly gifted vocalist, violinist, composer. I'm speaking, of course, of Carla Kilstead. If you don't know what I'm talking about, she is probably best known for her work with the band Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. She was with those guys for many, many years. And the drummer from that band and her got married. They left the band. They started a family and a music project called Rabbit Rabbit Radio. This is not easy listening, but that's not to say that it's gonna challenge you the way that, Magma on a Bender would. This is different stuff. This is very prog, but also
Where
very
do I
klezmer.
sign? Where do I sign? Holy cow.
It's klezmer music, Eastern European Jewish sounds, mixed with a lot of orchestral and prog influences and pop. Believe it or not, it's all there. So for me, she has done so many things. My absolute favorite thing, I can't show you because it's not yet available in physical form, but I saw her recently. They came to Chicago and they played a concert here with Cheer Accident, Rabbit Rabbit Radio. Mm-hmm. So Matthias and her and their kids, so they tour as a family, which I think is pretty cool, right? We were talking, and I want to say in 2008 or 7, around that time, she was commissioned by the Chicago Museum of Modern Art to bring to the stage a lot of the characters from in Latin American literature, these monsters, and the work was called Necessary Monsters, and it was just a stunning thing of theater, original music, live performance. It was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. Wow. Simply. And for today, before she never released this album as Carla. I think the closest thing to a solo Carla beside the Necessary Monsters would be these 2 Foot Yard albums, right? This is absolutely amazing stuff. If you, I guess if you really try hard, you can see what she looks like there. The main reason people had a crush on her and still do is not because of how she looks, though she is very pretty. It has to do with her musical brain. She's just an incredible performer in a variety of instruments, and the way she thinks about music and composes is very, very unique. Mm-hmm. So it's a multiple shout out to many projects, Tin Hat Trio, Sleepy Time, but mainly it's just Carla Kilstead. I love her. I think she's great. And if you've never heard this, give it a shot on Bandcamp. It's good stuff.
You had me at Monsters, Lewis.
There you go.
No surprise there, right?
Yeah.
I think We just gotta get Louise like some tissues. I think you mentioned how good looking she was about 3 or 4 times.
Well, but you know, she's not gonna get hired to do a bathing suit catalog. That's not the point. She is amazing as
That's a
a
good look for you,
musician.
Louise. Right, like that. That's a good look.
Prog, baby. This is the look of a prog show. Male bellies.
I'm so glad I ate them.
I'm trying to find this program. I don't have it. It must be somewhere. I can't find it. The program for Necessary Monsters.
Cool. All right. Well,
It's incredible.
sounds right up my alley.
Yeah.
Eric, what do you got?
My number 2, I'm going back to Japan and I'm going back to a live album. I'm also going with Kenzo. And this is, I won't say it right, Ken Gonsu Gu or whatever it is, but it's fantastic. I do have a bunch of their other stuff, but I like the live stuff for some reason. I like the energy from it. I like, obviously, the guitar heavy, keyboard heavy on this one. But they're just fantastic, great players. Again, kind of fusion-y prog. I definitely get a lot of prog from them as well. I don't see them all in that fusion reign. I do see a lot of prog in them too. So that is my number 2, Kenzo.
Yeah, I think the way they layer the keyboards kind of takes them into prog territory a little bit. So great pick.
They're more composed than most fusion, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I mean, they have their fusion-y moments for sure, but yeah. All right, George, what do you got for number 2?
Well, speaking of fusion, Kaio Sen. This is 2 women, drummer and B3 player, doing a classic B3 trio. The organist's husband, Koichi Yubori, he usually plays 2 or 3 songs per album on guitar, and they occasionally guest bass on some tracks, depending on which album, how much bass is on it. But it's just heavy B3 trio stuff, 5 studio albums, kind of in the Niacin area, but for my money, they kick Niacin's ass all over the place. So check them out, Kaio Sen.
That was the album. Was that the album you sent me?
No, I sent you Organizer. This is Trick or Treat.
It was good stuff.
One before it.
It was good stuff.
My number 2, Space Shanty by Khan. Everything that Ken said, really strong album. It's a classic, one and done. Early Steve Hillage, great stuff. Dave Stewart's playing on here is incredible. This is, you listen to this and you kind of wish they did more. It's a classic of the early 70s. I agree with Ken. It gets lumped in with the Canterbury scene quite a bit because of all the players, but not quite as quirky and jazzy, I don't think. It's got a little more like a psychedelic edge to it. It's definitely proggy. Yeah, spacey in spots. Great stuff. Good aggressive guitar playing on here. Really, really nice. That's my number 2. Oh, and
does the LP have the comic book?
You just cut out. I'm sorry.
Does the LP have the comic book in it?
I'm looking. I don't think so. Well, my copy might not. I don't
see.
I don't have a. I mean, no, not no.
See.
my CD doesn't have it either.
I mean, it's just great.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
I think you got the special edition, Louis.
I got esoteric, whatever that is,
Oh, I thought you had the Mexican pressing.
No, that would include El Santo. Not Time Comics.
Chad's number 2 is Mike Keneally's Boil That Dust Speck from 1994. Good choice, Mike Keneally. It's a guy's got a ton of really strong solo albums, and that might be my favorite, actually. So that's a good one. Good one from Chad. Back to Chuck.
My number 1 is sticking with Michael Keneally. You Must Be This Tall.
How tall is it, Chuck?
It's a great album, man. It kicks some damn ass here, man. You can't go wrong with a lot of this stuff, man. Like you said, Lewis was just talking about people with a special mind, and this guy right here, man, he has a special mind. There's a whole lot of albums from that stretch that you can pick as your number 1 album. But I happen to pick this one over here. Might not be the best of from what most people think of, and so, but this is amongst one of my best, one of my favorites.
That's a great record.
I love it. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's outstanding, man.
Yeah.
He learned his craft well playing for the maestro all those years, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Yes.
Like Mines, I would say too, because he's definitely, he's all up, Mike's all over the place, you know,
He really
does
is,
a little
man.
bit of everything.
What's really cool is when you see Keneally playing with guys like, Vi, and, he's up there shredding right alongside Vi, or he's blazing on the keyboards.
I was gonna say the keyboards, he's amazing on keyboards too.
yeah,
He is. Yep. Mhm.
I saw Beer for Dolphins at NAMM. They were phenomenal.
And they're kind of poppier than his solo stuff, and I love Beer for Dolphins. I think it's great,
Yeah.
great stuff.
talented dude. All right, Ken.
My
Your
number
your
one.
number one that none of us have heard.
Well, actually, I'm going to hold up 4 albums by this band.
Oh boy.
And well, this band absolutely, when I discovered these guys, absolutely rocked my world. I think that they are right now one of the best bands in the world. And I just found out this afternoon they're about to drop their 5th album in December. It's going to be a double album. The band is from Germany and they're called Karaba. This is their incredibly rare first album. Guys, take a look at it because you're never going to see it again. They've only put one of the albums out on CD. So I discovered them from this live album. And this one, again, not on CD. This one, this 3rd album, I forgot the name of the damn thing, can't pronounce it. This one is on CD and I'm out of copies, but I'm going to restock it when I get the new album. And then they put out what was called an EP, but it's about like 40 minutes. So the story with Karaba is they're a German band, instrumental. They have very strong undercurrents of classic 70s krautrock. There's a lot of embryo in their sound. Marja Burchard, who was Christian Burchard's daughter, is playing vibraphone. There is the main guy in the band plays Hammond organ, and when he's ripping, the music kind of goes off a little bit into like Canterbury National Health realms. So it touches on all these things. I guess you'd sort of call it underground jazz rock, world, whatever. I don't know, but somehow it works. And these guys made 4 phenomenal albums. And I'm really looking forward to this new one.
When were they made, Ken?
They're brand new. They're
they're brand new.
they're a current band.
So why no CDs?
I don't know why. Just the one album they put out on CD, and they're all. You could hear all their albums on Bandcamp. It's spelled Karaba, Karaba, and they have a Bandcamp page. This last album, which is really kind of weird. This one they jumped over to another label, and but the new album's going back to the old label, and I think there's a connection between the keyboard player, it's his band, and the guy who owns the label. I think the guy who owns the label is maybe his dad or something like that, or somebody affiliated with it. They have the same last name. So anyway, I know collectively, well, maybe not Steven, maybe Steven. All of you guys would love this band. Go on their Bandcamp page, listen to it, and wait until December. I'll restock the one that's on CD, and I'll get the new one. And if the new one's out on CD, of course, I'll bring it in. Karaba, phenomenal band. I mean, these guys, there aren't a lot of new bands that really excite me. I mean, honestly, I listen to a lot of 70s music. I'm respectful of a lot of current bands, and I do enjoy current bands. These guys are the guys that make my dick hard. This is the shit. This is what it's great.
And you like their music?
Well, it's a bonus. I see it as a bonus, right? You get to my age, Steven, you do whatever you can. So, so anyway, Karaba, head over to Bandcamp, check out what they do. And I'm sure in the comments, you'll tell me I suck, but I think they're great.
I definitely want to check them out.
You will, Pete, you're gonna shit yourself when you hear them. I know you're gonna like them.
You get messy.
Messy, yeah. Oh yeah. Where you depends.
Okay, I will do that.
Or listen in the
At our
shower.
age, we got to get whatever excitement we can get wherever we can get it, right? So,
At this point, absolutely,
Indeed.
without question.
all right, Stephen, you're number one.
Okay, so my number one will make nobody shit themselves. I think that's a good thing, personally.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to go with Karnataka for
Uh,
my number one.
Yes.
Yes.
A Welsh outfit who formed back in, I think, 1997, and I've been a pretty much of a soap opera along the way. It's an odd old outfit, the way things have come together. They released 3 albums between 1998 and 2000, which were kind of influenced more by Pink Floyd, Camel, and then basically the whole band quit and formed Panic Room, leaving bassist Ian Jones on his own. So the band kind of split. Then he revived them completely with a different lineup. I prefer what's come after. It's a little bit more forceful. I like The Gathering Light from 2010 with Lisa Fury on vocals. My favourite is The Secrets of Angels from 2015 with Hayley Griffiths fronting the band. This is really, really good stuff. And their biggest problem really seems to be keeping any sort of steady lineup together. They split again in 2017, very briefly. They've come back together with another lineup, some old members, some new members, another new singer. And they haven't even managed to keep that together completely all the way through. And Jones's most recent releases have been from other projects, Chasing Moons and Illumine. So hopefully there's new music on the way. They are touring with a lady called Sartari on vocals now. So hopefully we'll get something from them soon. But yes, Karnataka are my number one. Excellent band.
Always like that album cover.
Yeah.
Lewis.
All right. Well, my number one can really be only one. And I'm glad that other people have mentioned this artist, because he, I don't want to be totally disqualified, but he's also a personal friend. And I can vouch for the fact that if you try to talk about somebody with a completely unique musical brain, I've never met or played with anyone quite as original and as insanely brilliant as Mike Keneally. Mike Keneally is just, I can't even understand how he thinks about music. Even when you're playing in a band with him, even for a one-off or whatever, you're always just watching what he does because you don't understand it, but it's perfect. It's just wonderful to have that opportunity to I'm not going to say I'll learn from him because, like I said, I don't really understand it, but I'm just in awe of how he puts together shit. It's like Jackson Pollock, but actually a pattern. It's a master painting. It's really incredible. I have no way of explaining it. And for me, I could have picked Scambot 1 and 2. I could have picked Boil the Dustback, but the one that really, really, really speaks to me for many reasons is Wooden Smoke.
That's a good one.
I love this record. This is just a beautiful, beautiful record. Here is Mike in one of his favorite positions, taking a nap. And Mike is a great guy. If you guys have never met him, I hope you have a chance to do so. Great human being, and just a fascinating musical. People always call other people geniuses, and it's bullshit. This guy really, I think, I'm not sure if he's a genius or a musical savant or whatever the fuck it is, but he is unique. This guy can play it all. I have seen him do a medley of Gentle Giant and Kevin Gilbert with a guitar in one hand and the keyboard in the other seamlessly while singing. And I don't know how to explain it. One man Gentle Giant. I think that should say a lot, right?
Yep.
So, but then even though it's Gentle Giant, it's filtered through Mike Keneally's brain. So it's undoubtedly Mike as well. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So Mike Keneally, Wooden Smoke, but I could have picked any one of many records. They're all brilliant in their own way. You have to be this tall. He even did one with Andy Partridge. Is that right?
Yes,
Wing Beat
that's-
Fantastic. When my daughter was little, that was her favorite record for a while. She used to sing the title track to that all the time.
Yeah. And the only person I've seen him with is Joe Satriani.
Yeah. Well, with Joe, he was utilized adequately, but he could have given so much more. Everybody in that band at that point, right? It's just great guy. So, many kudos to him wherever he is.
Great pick.
Much love for Mike.
Eric.
Well, my number one, I got into them fairly recently. I had the pleasure to see them about a week ago. And if it's possible to get into a band and absolutely love what they do and then see them live and go from here to here, that's what happened last week. Little kick the cat.
Yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely killed me. I'm going with Gurgle. They do have a new one live from Martyrs, I think, which pretty much is most of this, I think, and then a couple other tracks. But they blew me away live. Absolutely blew me away. What was kind of funny, we were talking a little bit before the show started. I noted it was a decent crowd, that maybe 100, 150 total, but there were people there with Humphreys McGee shirts. And I'm not sure because of Chris Myers, who's their drummer, who I was absolutely captivated with all night. I'm usually, and as great as Seabold was, I just could not believe how good Chris Myers was. But we had some Humphreys McGee fans, I think, doing some twirling in front of the stage, and the music necessarily doesn't go with that, but obviously they were there because Chris Myers was in the band. But they did promote him that way on the tour. I mean, it did have Chris Myers under Kick the Cat from Humphreys McGee, so that was part of the promotion. But they were absolutely fantastic, just incredible live, great players. If I could have seen them again, I wish I could have traveled to Burlington, and they played, they were in the Northeast, I think, on this tour. They did New York City. I saw them in Albany. They played in Burlington and a few other, I think they had 10 dates or something, but absolutely fantastic. Great record. This is 2001 Gurgle, but go check them out. Killer band.
Love them. I didn't bring mine to show for the honorables because that's still in my car.
Gurgle is great.
It hasn't left since I first got it. Yeah.
George.
That's also my number one. I got
Nice.
him right after the second album came out. There's a local bass player. I don't know if you know him, Lewis, a guy named Rick Showalter.
Yes.
He's of a like mind. He likes the metal stuff and the fusion stuff. And he told me there was a band in town that was a legit killer fusion band, which did not compute with me. There's nothing like that here. At least at the time, I didn't know of anything like that. And they had a residency about 5 blocks from my house, and checked them out over there, and was just, ever since then, been totally into them. They put out 3 albums between 99 and 05, this being the 3rd one. And they went on this long hiatus until last year when they put out Gurgle. And they not only didn't lose a step, they might be a step up. I mean, it's incredible. They're busy jobbers, but when they make time for this band, it's a full steam ahead. I mean, and this is one of those bands it doesn't matter which album you check out, they're all killer. So Kick the Cat.
Yeah.
They might have made my top 3 if I wasn't just so new to their music, but they're in my honorable mentions because they're really, really good. If you like 70s and early 80s style fusion and you're not listening to Kick the Cat, what are you waiting for? Really good. My number one, though, was kind of a foregone conclusion. I knew they were going to be my number one. And we've had a few people mention them already, so I'm not going to talk too much about them. But the band is Kenso, and I will agree 100% with what Eric said. I like their live albums the best. This is Zaire Live, which amazing stuff. It's got 13 tracks on it. It's got, it's kind of like a best of some of their earlier albums. But man, the first 2 were really good. All their albums are really good. Even, I think George said, even their more recent ones are spectacular, and we need more from them. So guys, I don't know what you're doing. I know one of the dudes is like a dentist. He's probably making of course he's making much more money in his day job than he's making. But and it's great when you see them live because they look so professional, right? They got all the glasses. And their music is so ferociously good, so melodic, so meticulous. I really like them a lot. I love the way they're one of those few bands that I think blends symphonic prog and fusion perfectly. So we don't really know what to call them other than the fact that it's great music. So yeah, Kenso is my pick, and my album from them. My favorite album from them is Zaire Live. Yep. And Chad's number one is Kenso, and he chose Kenson Gusu from 2000.
That's how you say it.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't know.
Of course.
I'm just reading. All right, honorable mentions time. Let's go back to Chuck.
All right, just a couple. I didn't want to bore anybody with any more. And so, what's that? I picked Kraftwerk as one band, and so this is not their most experimental album, but it's still one of their best. And Trans Europe Express, and then my fifth one is Space Shanty Con.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing album. It's one of those albums that you continue to listen to once you put it on. There are a lot of other bands. Like I said, Kenzo is an amazing band. We can go forward, but like I said, I don't want to bore anybody. But those are my two honorable mentions right there.
Thank you, Chuck, for mentioning Kraftwerk, because I'm sure that we've already had like 5 comments. Like, how can you believe nobody has mentioned them yet?
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, everybody's got to be patient because everything gets mentioned at some point.
Wait till the end.
Right.
Exactly. Then you comment. Exactly.
Yeah.
People want
innovative concept.
Everybody was ready to say Caraba. Where the fuck's Caraba? And then I held up Caraba.
There you go.
And everybody's sitting there editing their posts now, right?
No, they'll leave it there.
Probably.
All right, Ken.
Ken, why didn't you say so and so?
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, I cut my list down. This was a lot of rough justice going on here. I got a lot of, and I'll get rid of the CDs. First guys I got is Kaipa. And this is a pretty rare CD called Stockholm Symphony. It may be a bootleg. I'm not really sure. I got it years and years ago. I believe it was a radio broadcast from 1976. That was Ronnie Stoltz band with Hans London. Run is not playing in the band anymore, but they're still together, still putting out good symphonic rock. And the other band, which I believe we already talked about, was KBB. We talked about KBB, right?
Yep.
So this was, I don't have any vinyl, Age of Pain, good violin band. All right, now I'm going to I'll dig a little deeper. Really good band from Germany that put out 3 albums, Catamaran. And also, by the way, my honorable mentions list is very heavily skewed, I think, in the like jazz rock fusion direction for some reason. Anyway, I tried reissuing this band and the master tapes are gone, but great band, Catamaran. Next one I got, one of my favorite guitar players from Japan, Ryo Kawasaki. And Ryo kind of, he passed away a couple of years ago now, and kind of an overlooked guitar player. He played with Gil Evans, and if you could play with Gil Evans, you could play with anybody. And and he also developed a very early guitar synthesizer. I saw him play a couple of times in New York City. I saw him play 55 Grand. Had this big, massive console, kind of looked like Keith Emerson's Modular Moog, and it was a good early prototype guitar synthesizer. And he would play solo guitar first, and then his band Golden Dragon would come out, and it had Lincoln Goines on bass. Anyway, great fusion player, jazz player, Ryo Kawasaki. Another Japanese fusion band I was playing this weekend, Keep. Keep made 2 studio albums and 1 live album. Kira Wada from Prism on guitar and Jun Fukumachi on keyboards. You like stuff like Kenso? I think you would probably like Keep. George, what do you think? Agree?
Ben.
Yep. As already mentioned multiple times, Kenso. This is their first double live album. This one was called, what was it? Music for Unknown 5 Musicians. Great live album.
What a great title.
Oh, yeah. Then a band that I've worked with and I hope to continue working with if they're watching, King Crow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So King Crow started out kind of as straight ahead prog metal band, and sort of in the Dream Theater style, but their sound it's evolved over the years, and they've kind of moved a little bit more. I call them like a heavy prog rock band. And for my taste, I think if you're into Steven Wilson, Porcupine Tree, not too dissimilar, and very melodic, really, really good band.
Yeah,
Is there a little
really
leprous in
good
them
band.
too?
Well, I'm sorry.
You hear a little leprous in them too?
Yes.
Maybe, but not quite as extreme. But yeah, for sure. Arthur Brown had a band called Kingdom Come,
Oh yeah.
and this was
Dossier.
this was a great one. Galactic Zoo Dossier, and then they also had Journey. Great band. Keep going. I have two more. Another band that made 3 albums, one of George's favorites, Cornet. This was Fritball. I think this was number 2, George. Yep. Really, really good. Hot guitar, keyboards. Never came out on CD. I don't know why. They seem like likely candidate. And last but not least, the already mentioned Gruffwork, Audubon. Saw these guys 1981 at the Ritz, one of the best shows I've ever seen. Incredible. And that's all I got. I had some other great ones, but we'd be here all night. So
Still all awesome picks.
I took the axe out and I just started chopping away.
Start trimming.
Yeah,
Trimming a tree.
I'm sure everybody will tell me what I forgot.
Yeah, of course. Stephen.
Okay, just 2 from me. So I have mentioned Capricar's Constant on the show recently. So I won't get into too much detail again. Excellent current band from the UK, kind of fitting perfectly into that kind of folk-tinged prog that's really quite prominent over here again. Debuted in 2017. This is this year's The Murder Wall, which is still one of my favourite albums from the year. It's really, really good. And Cottabel, who are a Spanish outfit, formed back in '99. I would say they kind of form a sound around symphonic prog, but add elements. There's piano, there's flutes, there's synthesized violin. They've had some classical elements at certain points. 7 studio albums. This is 2017, and I still think the most recent, Cosmology. I think this is kind of a bridge between Genesis, Porcupine Tree, and then there's Latin flavours in there too, which shouldn't belong, but they really do, and it works really well. And Eric will like them because there's no vocals. So
Yes.
This is Cottabel.
Yeah.
Keyboard player's great.
Yes.
Yes.
Really good. Yeah.
Lewis,
That's me.
what do you got?
All right, I got just a few, unlike my usual 2. I'll go through them fast. I have Koenji Hyake.
Oh yeah. Oh,
This
man.
is something especially for Pete. There's a Japanese heavily magma influenced band. They also have their own language. This particular album was released on Skingraft, and it's called Anger Shispa.
I like that cover though. That's a pretty cool cover.
I'm here to
It's an
tell you,
amazing
Pete.
album.
This fucking album is designed to decapitate the weak. So I love it. I saw them live. George will know what I mean, at the old Abbey Pub of all places. They played the Abbey Pub.
Wow.
And they were opening for Cheer Accidents. It's like, what the hell? And they had these little paper notes like this, and they kill you with music, and then they say, "We Koenji Koake, thank you, Chicago." And then they do it again. It was awesome. It was absolutely brilliant, right? Cottabel has been mentioned. They're a great symphonic band in my estimation, from Spain. This is a fusiony band from Montreal. Carcius.
Oh yeah, good one. Yeah.
Kaleidoscope is the one I picked. They have a few others. This is really good. I get a lot of mileage out of this record whenever I play it. It's they're not inventing anything new, but what they do real well.
Luis, have you heard their new album?
I have not.
It's radically different. They've added a vocalist, and they've just gone
Oh.
off and they've gone off in a completely different direction. Yeah, Eric's giving.
Maybe I'm just gonna stick with Happy Memories.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know it was the same band.
So let me just linger with the fact that they're an instrumental band from Montreal.
Yeah.
Stick with
And
that.
whatever happened later, let's just attribute it to cocaine decisions or something. I don't know. This a record I only recently bought, and the more I hear it, the more I like it. It's kind of stoner, but it's very psychedelic, and I'm talking about Cadaver, the Isolation tapes. This is a really good record, actually. I really enjoy this a lot. It's at first I was like indifferent to it, but the more I hear it, the more I discover. So this, I always like it when that happens. So Cadaver, Isolation tapes. This is Kyodot, Stained Glass. I love these guys. These guys are killer. Again, if your girlfriend thinks that Britney Spears is the best thing ever, don't take her to see Kyodot with you. Leave her home. But this stuff is awesome. And this record that nobody mentioned, I just have two more. This is K Squared, the Book of the Dead.
Wow, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
And this is of particular note, and I think, Eric, you might dig this, because this has Alan Holdsworth on guitar.
Ah, okay.
And it has a singer who sounds like he really knows his Peter Gabriel. And it has Ryo Kumoto from Spock's Beard on keyboards. It's just a great album. So if you never heard this, The Book of the Dead, K Squared, check it out. This is a great record.
I
A lot
saw
of
them.
homework tonight.
They played a small bar called The Fire in Philadelphia.
With Alan.
No, not with Alan. No, but with Ryo. No, with
Yeah.
Ryo.
Okay, yeah.
He was a panic. He was a funny guy.
And last, and this is going to be controversial, but I've always wanted to do this in the prog seat. You know, to me, progressive music has a lot to do with combining genres and doing things in new and innovative ways, right? And nobody ever talks about this particular artist, and he is not a prog artist per se, but he is great at mixing things. And I'm talking about the great late Kool Keith. And this is an album.
Yes.
Dr. Octagon. Yes. All right. So here's your assignment, folks.
Mhm.
Leave your prejudice at the fucking door and listen to this. Just fucking
Phenomenal.
listen to it.
Mhm.
All right. I understand that there's a lot of hangups, but Kool Keith in his Dr. Octagon alias, I think Chris Allo may have a heart attack laughing listening to this record. It's fucking awesome. And I know how that guy feels about hip hop. Fuck you, Chris. Listen to this. It's great.
As
It's
you say,
fucking great.
I had no idea who this guy was you were talking about.
Oh.
Yeah. This is, you can find it as Dr. Octagon,
Mhm.
right?
How many names does this guy have?
Plenty. Dr. Doom.
Yes. Mhm.
He goes under a lot. Also released as Kool Keith.
Mhm.
He was a very sharp guy. And he's able to really get like hip hop and electronic music, and really do some cool things with everything. He's not an idiot. He's
No,
doing some intelligent, good music, this guy. So
This is
putting it out there,
And the thing is,
bring on
it-
the flames.
that album is beyond hip hop. You know, just
Yes.
if
Yes.
I've mentioned this before. You know, there are albums, you know, when you listen to hip hop, and so, you know, you listen to your normal stuff that, you know, that's what played on radios that drives everyone crazy. That album was beyond that. You would never hear any single thing on that album, on that album on regular radio. No
Never.
R&B station. You wouldn't even hear that on underground hip hop stations. That's how eclectic it is.
Fantastic album. All right.
5 stars.
Seriously.
Mhm. Yep.
So anyway, that's it. That's it for me. Thank you.
Love it. Mhm.
You heard it here first, guys.
Mhm.
First time ever on In the Prog Seat.
That's progressive hip hop right there.
That's right. That's prog hop,
Yep.
baby.
Yep. Mhm.
Come join us in the Prog Hop.
Mhm.
Eric, you got any left?
I've got 3. 2 have been mentioned. I'm going with Stephen and Lewis with Coda Bell. Symphonic, very classically influenced on the keyboards, as was said. Mike Keneally, I went with Hat. Just sheer talent. His like Lewis said, his brain, you watch this guy and I can't figure out what he's doing, but he's amazing.
Mhm.
And somebody I've been listening to recently, and I meant to pull the live album 2 Drink Minimum and I didn't, Wayne Krantz, guitarist. I'm really starting to get into him. I don't know a ton of his stuff, but I really like his style. A lot of chording along with soloing, but I like his voicings, I guess. I really enjoy listening to him play. I think this is a trio, but 2 Drink Minimum is a really cool live record from him. Again, just featuring, I think that's a trio record as well. But really cool guitar stuff if you're into that. Wayne Krantz.
Cool. George.
Been said a couple times. KBB. Violinist Akihisa Suboi, I think, is the most evocative violin player in these genres. Just melodies really get at you. Another band that's been dormant since 2013, so hopefully that's not a bad sign. Also Japan, Daisuke Kunita, guitar player, a Berkeley guy. Kind of in the Holdsworth vein, but a lot more, I don't know, a lot more skronk to it. It's dirtier compositionally, but really good player, 3 albums. And then Karmakonic, 5 albums, retro prog from Sweden, Jonas Reingold, Lolly Larson. Really good stuff. They don't reinvent the wheel or anything, but it's really good.
Ollie Larson is a monstrously good keyboard player.
Yeah, the beast.
Cool. All right. Most of mine have been mentioned, but one I did not put on my list, and the more we've been kind of talking, the more I'm thinking I probably could have fit him on here, because they're another one of these bands that don't really fit into any kind of style. But King Buffalo, New York, right? I mean, they're kind of stoner, kind of space rock, psychedelic, not really metal.
King Buffalo are great.
I
Yeah,
think
they
fit.
are.
I
Yeah.
think they fit.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I think
yeah,
so.
they
I think so
probably,
as well.
if I would have thought, they probably could have even made my top 3, because I really like them a lot.
Yes.
They're kind of like they're another one of those bands that don't really fit anywhere, but
Acheron is such a great record.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
all their albums are really, really good. So really strong. Kari Eliasson from Austrian 70s
Yeah.
Genesis type band.
One of the worst recorded albums.
Oh, it sounds like shit, but the songs are really cool.
Yeah, it actually distorts.
Yeah, but they're really cool because they're like this.
Actually, in the recording actually distorts. It's
Is it
almost
that-
worth hearing. It's the most inept recording I've ever heard. I'm sorry.
So is it clipping? Like actually
Yeah.
clipping?
Yeah, and I have it on vinyl. I mean, that's the vinyl.
Sure, there wasn't like a fire going on in the background or something.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I'll never forget when I got that album. I still have it.
Oh man,
I
that's
have the CD which has all their recordings on it. It's like, yeah, it sounds like recordings sound like crap, but the songs are really good.
The Sex
Yeah.
Pistols don't clip.
It's
I'm just saying.
it's something. It's really something.
I don't know. Worth thinking out if you're into 70s symphonic prog, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had Mike Keneally on my list. I had KBB on my list. I had Kick the Cat on my list. I had Kaipa on my list. Kaipa's a pretty cool band. You know, the 70s stuff is all sung in Swedish. Got Roy Stolt, very young on there, very cool stuff. And then they became a little more kind of modern symphonic sounding in more recent years, but good stuff. Nobody mentioned Kayak.
Oh yes.
I'm not a huge fan.
I'm not a huge fan, but I do like some of
but-
their albums.
But they have some good stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
they do. More poppy. They're kind of, to me, they remind me of like
Supertramp.
80s Camel a little bit.
so
you know?
Supertramp meets Camel.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what they remind me of.
My friend Neil Kernan produced one of their albums, Merlin. That was like their best album, I think.
Merlin's very good. Yeah,
It was like a concept album.
yeah. And I think I mentioned KBB, so that's who I had. And Chad's got Koenjihiaki. I don't know.
Gwenji Hiake, my brother,
Okay, all right.
right here. They played Near Fest.
Anger Shishba.
This is the one. Anger Shispa.
Yep. There you go.
There it is.
One.
I love that.
He's got
album, man.
KBB, the album Four Corner Sky. He's got
Oh,
Corey Kyojin, Jackson, another Japanese band, Night Area, The Sun Also Rises from 2004. That's one of Ken's bands, right?
Yep.
Caviar, the Caviar Sessions from the US band.
Oh, Caviar for the Kevin Gilbert?
I don't know. It says the Caviar Sessions, 1996.
I think that's Kevin Gilbert.
Might be.
Don't know.
All right.
Krakatoa, We Are the Rowboats, 2012.
Mhm.
He's got King's X, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. He's got Car Mechanic, The Wheel of Life, Carseus Kaleidoscope, and Kino Picture from 2000.
Arceus Kaleidoscope. There we go.
So lots of good stuff covered today. That's everybody. So for those of you watching, of course, as we do and say every episode, in the comments below, list your favorite bands or artists that begin with K. And stay tuned. What comes after K, Eric?
Hell,
Good old L, right?
I had to think for a second.
That's why I asked you, because my brain wasn't working. I'm
You
like,
tricked me last week.
So stay tuned for L next week, everybody. And like I said, get busy in the comments below and start naming all your favorite K bands. And we'll see you 1 week from today. Before we go, Ken, I know you recently got all sorts of stuff in stock at the Laser's Edge. You want to just quickly tell some people what's in stock, what's available?
Yeah, actually something that came in today that I think people will be excited about, a double live album from England, the band that did Garden Shed. It's a concert they did from 2006. We also got, and I haven't really heard this too much. Antoine Fafard has a new band, a vocal band called Altiforma. Yeah, unfortunately, Eric's holding up Aurora Clara. They're
Buy
fantastic.
these.
Yeah, I sold out of them. I know Steve Feigenbaum's getting copies. He's waiting for copies. We got a load of stuff in from Esoteric, Van de Graaff Generator box set, Bach Denkel, Red Noise box set, Soft Machine. Got the new Motorcycle album in. It's great. And
Is it really?
yeah, and a really good Italian band that doesn't ever get talked about. Maybe when we do P, a band called Phoenix Again. They were a band from the 80s that never recorded. They broke up and then they reformed, and it's instrumental symphonic rock. It's real good stuff. So yeah, new Avatarium just came out. Like that band, Avantasia, all kinds of shit.
LaserCD.com, everyone.
Yep.
So thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together,
All the damn time.
See you next week here on In the Prog Seat. For letter L, for Chuck Alvarez, Ken Golden, Stephen Reed, Louis Nasser, Eric Porter, and joins me, I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you all later on. Don't forget tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Wednesday, new album review day. I've got 5 lined up for you. Got new Clutch. We've got God, what else did I cover? I forget even what I do. New Queensryche, a whole bunch of other things. So new Tangent, all sorts of stuff. So tune in tomorrow for all sorts of new reviews. Until then, have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.